Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just recently started publishing children's books independently, and I realized now that I'm kind of in the community that there are a lot of people who don't really know how to build out a children's story properly, and even just building the book in general. So if you need to know, stick around. I'm going to get right into it because there's not really a whole lot of prep work that goes into telling you guys all of this. The first step that I took with deciding how to write my story was deciding my audience. Now I have only 2 series that I'm working on right now. So I have one that's for a younger audience and then one that's for just a slightly older, still young audience. So you want to decide if you're going to do like baby books, like board books, or those fabric books. I don't know if there's really any company that independently publishes fabric books. If there are, let me know because I'm interested. If you want to go into more of the youth and early reader books, if you're trying to do first chapter books, middle school age, something like that, or even young adult series or fiction or nonfiction, whatever group for young adults. So you really want to choose your audience because the way that you write your story, the type of story that you choose is really going to depend on the audience that you're trying to reach. The second thing that you want to do is decide a theme. Where is the story going to be set? What types of scenarios are you going to build into the story? You really want to pick a theme and stick with it. You don't want to like start out with a Christmas story and then have it be like some summer fun story, end of the school year kind of thing. Choose a theme and stick with it and just try to get it to flow. Think about it in like terms of how you would actually live out the story, and it'll help you stick with the theme. The third thing that you want to decide is the narrative. How is the story going to be told? Are you going to be speaking in the third person? Are you going to be talking through an animal? Is it an inanimate object? Is it narrated by a narrator? Is the reader the narrator? You really want to decide how that's going to be told, and once again, stick with it. And with that said, stick with your tenses too. Like, try not to be writing in all past tense or reflective tense and then jump right into present tense kind of story. The fourth thing that you want to do is, for me, this is how I kind of do it backwards than some in a different way than other people say that they do it. Some people do their storyboards first. I personally write out a rough draft immediately, like as soon as the story, because I don't really sit down and contemplate stories. They pop into my head, or I kind of just like reach out into the universe and say, God, please put a story in my head. And I kind of ponder it for a minute, and I just immediately write out a rough draft of the story. Once I get that rough draft, then I go right into doing a storyboard. So what a storyboard is basically is you break the story down into spreads because, that's how you read a book. There's 2 pages on each page. Those are called spreads. So you want to make some rectangles on a piece of paper. Rectangles on the paper, and you just kind of want to sketch out what would be happening with the words that you have written, and that's how you kind of storyboard it out. And I think you should do that whether or not you're going to illustrate the book on your own. It's really going to help you to make sure that the story is flowing in a way that, like, you're reading this and then you turn the page to the next thing and it just flows that way. So storyboarding. And the next thing that you want to focus on now that you have your storyboard created are the illustrations. Now, for me, I have not yet worked with an illustrator, but I feel like if you only did the storyboard and hadn't written out a rough draft, then you don't have anything to present to the illustrator. So go ahead and make sure you have that rough draft. Go over it a couple of times because you really want to edit that down before you start working on illustrations, because if you're doing it yourself, you're going to waste a ton of time because you are going to have to scrap some of those drawings and redo them. And if you're working with an illustrator, you're going to waste a lot of time. Some illustrators charge by the hour, some charge by the drawing, some, they do a combination of both. So save yourself the money and the time and just make sure that you have that rough draft pretty much complete. And then the final thing that you're going to need to do is get the drawings and the words together. I like to format them all together and edit them again like that. Now I use Canva to lay out my stories. So I like to use the view option that they have on there, where you can look at all the pages on one screen. And I literally just read through it a million and one times to like, first I'm looking for punctuation and things like that. And then I'm looking for spelling errors. Then I'm looking for grammatical errors. Then I'm looking for flow. Then I go back through again and I look for punctuation again, because at this point I've moved so many things around and changed it, even the way the words are positioned on the page. So I want to go through and do that again. And then a side note, one thing that I like to do is I like to add fun text in with my basic text. So it might be like a sound effect word like kapow. Instead of just writing in regular text, I like to add that with some fun and colorful text. So that last step is when I go back through and I add that in. So that usually is my final edit before I order a sample. So the last thing that you want to do is go ahead and order that sample. And when you get that sample in, you edit it again, go in and publish. So yeah, those are my basic steps. I think I have 6 steps there. I put edit and samples and all that. That's really the last step. So if you're ready to try and write and publish a children's book independently, those are the steps that you should take. In my opinion, those are steps that I've taken, and so far so good. Your first story is going to not probably be up to the standard that you want, but I've always heard people say this, and mostly successful people say this: if you started when you were ready, you were already too late. So go ahead and try, do your best. I wish you luck. If you do end up publishing a story, please leave it below so that I can go ahead and support you as well, because I'm all about building up the community. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell, and I hope to see you again next time. Be blessed.